Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into what might literally be the death of the traditional corporate ladder. We're unpacking a highly condensed, pretty futuristic concept from a document called Session 8. Now, this isn't just some minor HR update. We are talking about a total transformation in how corporate leaders are chosen. It's wild to think about, but we're entering an era where algorithms dictate leadership, and I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through exactly how this massive shift works. Our blueprint for this comes down to one powerful quote. Leadership readiness scored, AI predicts potential, succession quantified. Short, punchy, but man, does it pack a punch. Those few words from Session 8 act as our stealth agenda today. They outline exactly how companies are, well, systematically removing human intuition right out of the executive pipeline. So before we get too deep, what do we actually mean by succession metrics? We're not just talking about digitizing a few HR files here. This is the practice of taking the highly subjective, kind of messy art of choosing leaders and transforming it into a ruthless, algorithm-based science. It's about completely removing the guesswork from the C-suite pipeline. No more relying on a board member's good feeling about a candidate. Nope. The whole shebang becomes a pure calculation. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Session 8, and succession metrics. For decades, the elephant in the room with traditional succession planning has been human bias. Historically, who gets promoted often comes down to the old country club promotion track. It's about who the boss likes best, who plays golf with the right executives, or honestly, just who happens to be the loudest person in the room. But Session 8 suggests that shifting from subjective gut feelings to objective science is the ultimate fix. We're actively moving away from backroom handshakes and moving toward hard, measurable data. It's a complete teardown of a system built on proximity bias, replacing it with an architecture built on actual performance metrics. It totally recalibrates how ambition gets rewarded. Moving right along to Section 2, scoring leadership readiness. Just imagine this for a second. You log into your employee portal on a Monday morning, and there it is. Your entire career trajectory. All those late nights, your interpersonal skills, they're all boiled down to a single number, like an 85% readiness score. It visually quantifies exactly where you stand. It's basically saying, hey, you're 85% ready for that VP role, but you've got a clearly defined 15% gap you need to close. But here's the catch. In a data-driven world, closing that 15% gap doesn't mean taking your boss out for a fancy lunch. It means improving specific, trackable data points. Maybe the algorithm flagged that your cross-functional communication metrics are lagging, or your global project exposure is mathematically lower than the benchmark. It completely removes the mystery of getting promoted, because the target is painted right there on your dashboard. So what does it mean when your leadership readiness is scored like this? You really have to ask yourself how the whole dynamic of the workplace shifts. Middle managers are no longer, trying to win favor over casual networking lunches. Instead, they're optimizing a specific set of metrics. It changes the entire game from a social competition into a data optimization puzzle. If you know your promotion hinges on an algorithm's read of your collaborative output or your project turnaround time, well, your daily behavior changes, right? The new metagame isn't kissing up to the boss anymore. It's figuring out the AI's weightings and making sure your digital exhaust proves you've got the traits of a top-tier leader. Which brings us to Section 3, AI predicts potential. We are essentially trading one mystery for another here. We're swapping the opaque, subjective gut instinct of a human boss for the equally opaque, incredibly complex calculus of an AI prediction. The algorithm is looking at your performance data, your communication patterns, your project success rates, and it's projecting whether you have what it takes to lead years down the line. And here's a pretty crazy fact for you. It's estimated that a bunch of Fortune 500 companies are already quietly running these predictive HR models in parallel with their human teams, just to test the algorithm against human choices. They're training the machine on thousands of past career trajectories to pinpoint the exact markers of executive success long before an employee even realizes they're on a leadership track. But this brings up a massive question, doesn't it? Can an algorithm really know if you're ready to be a CEO? I mean, it's one thing to measure past sales numbers or operational efficiency. It's a whole other ballgame to predict the emotional intelligence and strategic vision you need to steer a massive organization through a crisis. Picture a global supply chain collapse or some sudden viral PR disaster. How does an AI trained on steady-state data accurately predict raw grit or empathy or the ability to inspire a terrified workforce? Yet, Session 8 definitively declares that AI will predict this potential. It banks on the idea that even those intangible qualities leave a measurable digital footprint if you know exactly where to look. All right, let's wrap this up with Section 4, Quantifying Corporate Succession. So here is the complete anatomy of this whole concept. Step 1, score readiness using hard data. Step 2, AI predicts potential based on those scores. And that naturally leads to Step 3, succession is completely quantified. The pipeline of who takes over when current leaders step down, it's no longer a guessing game, and it sure isn't an emergency board meeting anymore. It becomes this active, running equation happening in the background at all times. Think of it like an invisible, always-on ticker monitoring the organizational heartbeat. If a senior executive suddenly resigns, the company doesn't panic. The algorithm simply recalculates and slots the next optimal candidate right into place in milliseconds, all based on those real-time readiness scores. When subjective biases are minimized and promotions are driven by algorithmic data, the corporate ladder essentially becomes a measurable formula. If you've ever felt overlooked because you didn't, say, fit a certain mold or didn't want to play office politics, this approach promises a ruthless but honestly a potentially leveling playing field. Your work literally speaks for itself through the numbers. What you should really take away from this is that quantifying succession means every single rung of the corporate ladder is now measured, mapped, and mathematically justified. Moving up is no longer about who you know. It's about how perfectly your digital output aligns with the company's success matrix. But it leaves us with this provocative final thought. When succession is fully quantified, who is really choosing our leaders? If algorithms are doing the scoring and predicting, if the machine is telling the board of directors who the next CEO should be based on mathematical optimization, are we still guiding the company's future, or is the data? It's a fascinating paradigm shift, and one that is absolutely going to define the future of work. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me, and definitely keep questioning the metrics around you.